because I uploaded the NBA predictions with my in English language. So I gotta do it like that. And if you want to stay here, you're welcome. And otherwise, you can as well leave. But of course, David is a bit unhappy now with the NBA predictions because we didn't hit any of them, and then you would instantly conclude it's not gonna work. It doesn't work. I don't do it. But if you miss like 5, or it was going okay in the first place, but then you had 6 in a row maybe wrong, something like that. And then you think, I'd rather give up. And I can agree to that if you do not watch the games and do not know the sports, then why would you bet on it, right? But we watched this one game together, Miami Heat at Utah Jazz. I heard it's a problem with the timer, with the server timeout, that it doesn't compile all the games. And can you remember what the prices were on Nets against Cavs and so on? I do not. So I can't say what would have happened yesterday with the bets. It takes a little bit longer to compile these NBA games. Does it take a bit too long? Well, anyway, we are just doing this to be able to finalize and update the prices, which didn't happen for 2 days in a row. So we have to update, which is done by finalize games. And then we can go to the current games, whereby 25 is not gonna be the ones from today only. Current, So we need the upcoming ones, and we need the ones from tonight. So starting at 1:30. Okay, there are like 6 games, and I usually try to predict them Cavs against Golden State Warriors. Again, Cavs against Warriors. Warriors should be favorites, but only by maybe about 2.5. Heat against Wizards, that should be 9.5. Heat, 9.5. Timberwolves against Spurs, pretty even, slight edge maybe to Timberwolves. Timberwolves slight favorites. Grizzlies against Clippers. Now the Clippers will be favorites. They won 7 out of the last 8, I think, and they closed the gap to the top. So Clippers will be favorites, but only by 2.5. Utah Jazz against Raptors, that's 11.5, I guess, or no, 10.5, sorry. Nuggets against Sixers will be 1.5 Nuggets, 1.5, I guess. So did you remember? 9.5, okay, that sounds like mad. A bit clearly too much, so I would go on the Cavs. Heat, I made it 9.5, I think, 6.5. Timberwolves, I made it Spurs slight favorites. See what the tool thinks. Grizzlies is still favorites, so I would go for the Clippers, maybe. Utah Jazz, I was 10.5, 9.5, something like that. So that one. And here I was 1.5, that's 7.5. So we had to go with the Sixers, but they disappointed me last time out. and maybe they are not so good, but I would rather, or there's missing the top player, right? Top player possibly missing. Anyway, we have to check that here, and we see that there one game had not been compiled. The Warriors are ahead by 4, which means 2.5 was maybe a bit too little, but 4, it's still telling us we should go with the Cavs. Heat against Wizards, that's 8. I think market was fine here. No, 6.5. So it doesn't quite work out to go with a Heat. You see 133, 140. So I can't bet it. I was guessing it was a bit more, the line a bit bigger. Here we have agreeing with the market, two ahead for the Timberwolves. So I was wrong. So this one goes fine with market. Computer, no contradictions. In the Grizzlies against Clippers, I was right. That even maybe I was saying Clippers should even be favorites. And now I would say, well, minus 1.5, that's 193. Is it even a bet? It's not. You see that here, 2.06 even. So sadly, computer agrees, so why should I be unhappy with my compilations? And Utah Jazz against the Raptors. Here we will have something similar. That's 7 only, so I'm a bit surprised here. 146, 317. So the computer would even say here the Raptors. Well, okay. After I saw Utah Jazz, maybe they are not so solid, but I'm not quite happy. And Utah Jazz, that's 146. Nuggets. Here it's 3 ahead, so the Sixers, but I think the best player is missing. So the computer would, in some sense, agree here that we could go with the Sixers, but maybe there's a small problem. And I'm going to remove these. So if we have these two indications, I've compiled them in my head. I was coming pretty close. There had been some disagreement with my intuitional approach, but the computer adjusted me here and there. For the Utah Jazz, I was guessing the line right, but the computer did not fully agree here. And in the Nuggets, Sixers, I think there's something going on with the Sixers. Maybe you know better, but that's the two indications. If we look at the lines, the over-under, we will most likely have overs indicated. Cavs computer says 210. We are coming pretty close here with 207, so we won't bet the over, of course. In the Heat, 206. Computer says here 220. That's a huge deviation, but most likely it will be justified. But here the computer would suggest the over. Maybe that's too big a margin. We can't overlook this or forget about it. Timberwolves against Spurs, 219. Here we agree. Grizzlies against that's 218, 219. Grizzlies 220. So we absolutely agree here. We wouldn't, of course, bet an under there. Nuggets, that's 213 or something. Nuggets 209, so very small indication on the over, which we in general do not like until further notice. More or less what happens with the ball, do they adjust to it also. And in the Jazz against Raptors, we have 218, something like that. And here it's 215. So we are actually coming a lot closer to market, which is also, for me, a very good sign. So, so that would be marginal kind of indications, which I would not fully sign. And thanks a lot for watching, and I'm gonna leave you now, and I'm gonna stop recording here.